Now what if I told you you can make custom sleeve PC cables without any expensive tools or using a complicated wiring diagram? Stick around and I'll show you how. In one of my previous videos, I showed you step by step how to make your own custom sleeve PC cables from scratch. While that method requires a lot of tools and supplies, which can make it quite expensive, the method I'm going to show you today is by far the most affordable way to make your own custom sleeve PC cables. And the only things you'll need is your existing PSU cables, scissors, staples, lighter, heat shrink, and most importantly, the sleeving of your choice. Now there's tons of different sleeving options out there to choose from. Personally, I prefer using PET sleeving from MDPC-X. Now you can also go with something like cordless paracord. I just found that PET sleeving is much easier to work with and it holds its shape much better once it's on the cable. Now before you can sleeve your existing PSU cables, you first need to check the outer diameter of your wires. Why? Well, PSU cables come in different sizes and sleeving also come in different sizes, each with a recommended diameter range it can cover. Now the cables I'll be sleeving today ranges between 1.7 and 2.4 millimeters in diameter, but generally most PSU wires range anything between 1.4 and 2.8 millimeters in diameter.
Now usually I use some calipers to determine the diameter of the wire, but it's not completely necessary to know the exact size. You just need to know if the wire is above or below 2 millimeters, and a basic ruler will work just fine for that. Now because some of the wires that I'm going to sleeve today are below 2 millimeters, I'll be using the micro size sleeving, but XTC and small sleeving would have worked just fine. Always try to select the size sleeve where your wire is within the bottom half of the range.
And if you aren't sure about the size of your wire and you don't have any calipers or a ruler to measure it, then small sleeving will always be a safe bet. Now the only major problem that can come from selecting the incorrect size is that it might be a little bit difficult to get the sleeving onto the wire if the sleeving is too small, and when the sleeving is too big, it might be difficult to get the sleeving tight enough in order for it to keep its shape and get that clean look. Now with the size out of the way, the next step is to determine how much you will need, and for that I use this calculation. It's the number of wires times the length of wires plus 30%. Now keep in mind that this formula only works if your wire is within the bottom half of your sleeve range. Now if your wire is closer to the upper limit, you most probably need to add 75% instead of 30%. Now with all that said and done, let's sleeve some wires.
I will be demonstrating this process with the 8-pin CPU cable. Now the first step is to remove any sleeving that's already on the cable. Just take care not to damage anything while removing the sleeving from the wire. With the wires bare like this, you will now remove one wire to sleeve. To remove the wire, take two staples and bend the one side of the staple flat like this. Then press the long end of the staple into the connector next to the terminal pin. One to the left and one to the right. Make sure that before you insert the staples that the terminal is fully inserted into the connector, otherwise it might be quite difficult to get the terminal out. With the staples completely pressed in, now carefully pull on the wire to get it out. Now follow the wire to the other end and repeat this on the other side as well. By removing only one wire at a time, sleeving it and then placing it back into the connector completely removes the need for a wiring diagram. Just keep in mind that some connectors already have an unused pin. So before you start, just mark the unoccupied terminal. I usually use a small piece of paper rolled up in a little pin to plug the unused terminal. Now with the wire out, the next step is to cut the sleeving to the correct length. Now use your wire to get the exact length. The sleeve should be long enough to be able to reach and cover the wire crimp section on both sides. Starting on the crimp section of the one side, run the sleeve next to the wire and then cut it next to the crimp section on the opposite side. Try not to pull or stretch the sleeve while doing this, otherwise your sleeve might be too short in the end. Once your sleeve is cut, then seal off the end with a lighter. Now next, carefully insert the wire into the sleeve. To feed the wire, you have to pinch on the one side and press on the other. Once the sleeving is on, the next step is to mount the sleeving to the crimp terminal. To get a good bond, the sleeving should cover half of the wire crimp section. Once it's in position, place the heat shrink over the sleeve and then use your lighter to melt it. Don't be scared to place it directly into the flame. Keep on heating it while you turn the wire until you can see the sleeve melting. Now wait for a few seconds and then remove the heat shrink. And it should look like this when you're done. Just note that the melted sleeve shouldn't go past the crimp section. If it does, it might interfere with the connector. With the one side melted, you can now pull the sleeve tight and repeat the melting process on the other side. Just make sure that the sleeve doesn't surpass the crimp terminal. If it does, first trim it before you melt it. And then you're basically done. Press the wire back into the connector and move on to the next wire. You will most definitely run into double or split wires. Now the process for them is basically the same except for the end with the double crimp. On that side, the sleeving should be slightly shorter. Bring the sleeving to about 5 mm from the terminal and then slightly heat the sleeve. Just enough to reshape it when pressed. Be very careful not to melt or damage the wire insulation. Then using a piece of heat shrink, place it over both wires and shrink it. And then your split wire is basically done.
And just like that, you've got a custom sleeved cable. Now to make things look even cleaner, you can add some cable combs. Now they really do make a big difference, but buying them can get quite expensive quickly.
I actually designed my own and laser cut them from acrylic, but you can also 3D print them. Now I'll have the files available for free, just check the link in the description below.
Now if you really want to take your cables to the next level, you can shorten them to the exact length you need them. But for that, you'll need a wire stripper, pliers, side cutter, crimper, and ATX crimp terminals. Then before you start the sleeving process, you first trim the wire, strip off the insulation, and then crimp a new terminal. If you're interested in that, check out my other sleeving video where I walk through the entire process step by step. Now I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, please make sure you subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.